Call this Topsham Select Board meeting to order, December 15, 2022, from the Donald A. Russell Meeting Room. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, would you call the roll, please?
David Douglas.
I'm here.
Marie Brilliant.
Excuse?
Ruth Lyons. Here. Matt Nixon.
Present.
Roland Tufts.
Here.
And our town manager, Derek Skripchansky, is also at the head table. And Marie Brilliant is absent.
Thank you, Patty. Town managers report.
Welcome, everyone. Just an update on Infinity Lighting. This is a company that's converting all of our municipal and street lights to LED lighting. The project is currently underway, and we expect the project to be complete within the next 2 weeks. Reminder from Public Works, parking bans are posted on the town's website, the town's Facebook page, and on local television channel 3. Winter sand is also available at the town municipal complex in the Public Works garage. For here at the complex, it's located in the back of the 2 buildings in the parking lot. There is a 2 pail limit per resident, and we ask residents to remove items in the following pathways. This includes, but is not limited to, flower pots, basketball hoops, equipment, trailers, or anything else that may impact our ability to plow. The parking ban has been initiated. It'll start tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock until midnight Saturday due to the incoming storm. On Sunday, December 18th, Santa and Mrs. Claus, Santa's elf, and the Grinch can be seen escorted by the Topsham Fire and Police Departments at 4 different locations here in Topsham. 2 p.m. they'll be at Mount Ararat Middle School, at 2:15 Mount Ararat High School, 2:30 the Topsham Public Library, and at 2:40 the Forsyth Recreational Facility. So hopefully families and kids can get out there to participate. And more information is available on the parksrecs.com webpage for the Parks and Recreation Department. I am pleased to announce that Mr. Tom Lister, our Codes Enforcement Officer, has been recognized as the Maine Building Officials and Inspectors Association Member of the Year. It's a great honor, and we are proud to have Tom on our team, and his award is displayed in the lobby at the plaque next to the Employee of the Year award. Municipal offices and non-emergency services will be closed on Monday, December 26th, in observance of Christmas, and Monday, January 2nd, in observance of New Year's Day. And on behalf of the Topsham team, I wish all of you and your families a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you.
Any questions, the manager? I do. I don't know if this is going to be the spot it gets talked about. So I think it probably would have been our last set of neighborhood meetings. So what are we talking, 3-4 years ago now? There was a lot of conversation about, and I think support by the board, just at those, I mean, obviously not on agenda items, for flashing lights in the town of Topsham at the intersections after a certain hour. They'll need to be continuously running red. We were told by the state of Maine we couldn't do flashing lights due to medical issues. So I am requesting that you have the Public Works Director or yourself reach out and ask, why is it that several $1,000s we just recently spent at the Route 201-196 intersection to install flashing lights and take down yield signs? And if possible, can we get our lights flashing after 9 o'clock at night through like 4 in the morning, so we're not sitting at red lights at 2 o'clock in the morning for no reason when you come home? We can talk about it, but if we can get some answers from them, they just spent a lot of money to take down the yield sign and do what they told us we couldn't do. So
Okay, I'll give it back to the board.
yeah, just check. Go ahead.
Well, comment, I use that a lot, of course, and, coming this way, going further on, up in Maine, and it's usually flashing yellow.
Yeah.
So if it flashes yellow.
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, they had said flashing couldn't.
I can understand red, but.
Well, they do it on reds. It happens Route 1 in Yarmouth.
Mhm.
I mean, they do it down there, so none of it lines up with why they said we couldn't do it. Except when you come home late from the airport, you gotta sit there and school. Yeah. Like 3:30 in the morning, as a matter of fact, Matt, you still have to sit there. Maybe run it. Board committee reports and updates. We don't have anything tonight. Public comment, any public comment tonight, not to do with any of the agenda items. This would be a time to make that comment. Correspondence, anyone? Nothing? Okay. Adjustments to the agenda, no one's got anything. Consent calendar approval of the minutes, of regular select board meeting, November 17, 2022. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. Public hearing 2298, consideration any appropriate action to grant an ATV access route from the current trail system to Rusty's utilizing Tedford Road. So the way, I just want to make sure everyone understands the way public hearings work. I will gavel open the public hearing. And at that point, anyone that would like to make comments from the crowd regarding this issue, they are welcome to make those comments. If any members of the board have any questions, they can ask during that time. But also, once I gavel out of the public hearing, only comments will be between the board. And we can ask questions obviously at any time. So once it's gavelled open, that's when the public can speak. Once it's closed, the public opportunity to speak is closed. Everyone good with that? All right, public hearing is open for any consideration or appropriate action to grant an ATV access route from the current trail system to Rusty's utilizing Tedford Road. Does anybody want to give an overview? So everyone's got to come to the podium and you've got to give your name and address clearly. Go ahead. So that.
Sure. Okay.
So that Patty can get it in the record.
Good evening. Again, my name is Jenny Little, and I'm the president of Topsham Trail Riders. And we come before you this evening to seek approval and to speak to the public, and the residents who are watching in regards to gaining access to the Tedford Road from the rail system. I'm happy to field any questions or from either the board or from the public. And this is truly from our trailhead, I would say, to Rusty's, and really for fuel and for patrons and for food, of course, who come to the Topsham area. I think it'd be a benefit to the area. So I leave it to the floor.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
So is the trailhead, there's a trail that crosses near the power lines, I believe, right near the Great American Neighborhoods.
May I approach? May I
Yeah.
approach? Yeah.
I've got that.
Oh, okay. He drew it on it because I didn't know right off. So we would be coming right here.
Right, but is that's the area of the Great
Yes.
American Neighborhood?
Yes.
Whatever it's
Yeah.
called, yeah. So that is marked as an ATV and snowmobile trail, accurate?
Charlie,
map?
our trail master. It is, yes,
It is. You are strictly asking for ATV?
correct.
Okay. So I look at your parking areas, one at Arat, and then you have another one across 95 at JNS Oil.
Yep. Yep.
Very short distances from those parking areas and starting points, if anyone parked to that trailhead to run down to Rusty's. What is an ATV? I mean, how many miles does it need before it needs gas? 100.
I'll say it depends on the machine really and what year and what, but it can go for quite a bit of time.
Okay. And obviously, if someone started at their house anywhere else on the trail system, I get it, but I'm just wondering, it seems like such a close area around other convenience stores, other gas stations.
Truly, but for,
Run.
the economic perspective as to what it can offer to someone visiting the area too.
Okay. All right, that was my question.
Yeah, of course.
Name's Daniel Powell. My wife and I live at the end of Tedford Road. And observe all summer long, the last 22 years, the club's been going, that road has been used every year. It's never had a thing. Over the years, you've been president of this club. And every officer, and anyways, I've always said, geez, we ought to do that, we ought to do that, we ought to get that, so it's legal. And this summer, I noticed it used even more. We'd like to do it, have it marked, either, I'm not sure about the speed limit right now is 25. Some towns have them do 15. Some towns do the 25. They don't want to do it, because they want them on the road and not on the side of the road. For that reason. That's how other towns, and it's done many, many times. This place, Rusty's, has been attractive way back to my wife's parents owned it. When I was Lamar's, so it's always been a drawing. My wife used to ride the horse over there and down through all these trails and everything. Every trail that's in this side of that town was done by husband riding past and all that. This is something that's been going on 22 years. We've been maintaining trails on that side of town and even the other side. And I don't know that I've heard any real complaints. The biggest thing is maybe speed. And usually either I or somebody will call it in. You know, none of us want anybody to get hurt, and that's not an area to be speeding on. And our club, this is the new president, is all safety. Safety and do whatever the landowner wants. They're number one, and that's what we try to do. That's my say on it. I would hopefully let you vote in favor of this. Thank you.
A reminder, when we do this, we're not doing this for a club. It is open to everybody, and I understand Topsham Trail Riders are very safe, but it's everybody.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hughes and I live at 27 Tedford Road. And I have some concerns about opening it up to the public. A few four-wheelers go down the road here and there now, and speed is an issue on our road. I have contacted the town this summer. I was walking a lot this summer and I've asked for larger speed limit signs on our road. I've asked the police department to patrol our road more because speed is, a lot of people speed on our road and it's not safe to walk on our road certain times of day. And so I am reluctant to have the four-wheelers on the Tedford Road. I'm just concerned that once it's opened up to the public, there's going to be a lot more traffic and there's going to be a problem with speed. Not necessarily the few people that use it now, but in large people that come and use it as an access. Thank you.
Any other comment from the public?
Corey Cass, 1 Hawthorne Lane. Our neighborhood abuts the Topsham Trail Riders trail, and they've been very good stewards of that trail. However, they're not necessarily the users I worry about. The road is very narrow. It needs improvements. Once it's connected eventually to Audubon Way, it's going to just increase. We are having Topsham Housing Authority is adding another 38 units directly adjacent to the right of way. So there's going to be a bigger increase of traffic. I've had incidents in my neighborhood where I have had, and I'm sure that they're not necessarily members of the trail riders, but people directly crossing the road in front of me without looking, stopping, and going at tremendous speed. I've actually witnessed dirt bikes and ATVs jumping over the entrance to the crossing of the street. So again, I'm worried about the people that aren't necessarily part of this group. I'm worried about the speed and then also the access into Rusty's with the traffic coming directly off 24. Smaller vehicles like an ATV might be hard to see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Sherman?
I appreciate the feedback from you, Cory, and from you, Jen. We try to be stewards of, and I appreciate the compliment that we do try to be stewards to the sport, and we do absolutely want to be safe or consider safety utmost. And we have measures that we're happy to work with the public enforcement, whether it's we can place trail cameras or whether we can certainly try to, if it's a speed that's a factor, then we can maybe mitigate it down to a certain speed level as well. We certainly can do our best to help work with the public in that aspect.
Thank you. Chief Hagan. You.
Evening, Mark Hagan, Chief of Police.
So hearing tonight that people are doing this already, are you guys, has your department been fielding calls at all that this has been happening over time? And you may not know every call, right?
Over the last 2 years since I've been here, we've had calls of speeding. I don't recall necessarily motorcycles in particular or ATVs in particular. We have had complaints of speeding. We get them every week in different areas.
Right. That was all, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Easy enough for now. You want-
No, I want to ask you a question.
So do I. Hey, Bob Nugent, 35 Tedford Road, right in the sweet spot, the speeding spot. In Tedford Road. Every day. Speeds are out of control. Okay, people who live there and the trades that come through that are doing work at Highland Green, non-residents, daily. Phone calls go to the Saginaw system. They may or may not reach the Topsham police, but their calls are coming in every day. As somebody who, for the last 4 years, has ardently tried to stop speeders, I've got retribution, garbage thrown in my yard, mailbox knocked down. There's a police report of that. Right? Can't stop the trades. The folks are coming through. The only silence we have is the weekends where the trades aren't coming through. And guess what? Now we're going to have ATVs. They're not Teslas. They're not quiet. Right? They make a lot of noise. We have current ATV use on this. People coming down, don't know if they're any of the members of the club. Man on the front, kid on the back, no helmet. Over and over again, 40, 45 miles an hour, constant. So that you're taking the 2 days that we may have quiet there. And what you're doing is cranking the noise up again, right? Not the trades coming down with their diesel trucks every day, right? It happens every morning. There isn't a single person between the hours of 6:30 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. filling the speed limit on Tedford Road. I will write a check to the Police Benevolent Association for $50 if you can find one person that does. Every son that does, I would write another check. I've had that speed limit in my yard, the sign, 5 times. 5 times, garbage thrown, everything, we'll show you. Right? So now you're taking this noise, more volume, and you're throwing it on Tedford Road. Tedford Road at its widest is 17 feet wide. At its narrowest navigable width, it's 14 feet. Okay, so you're talking about a narrow road, incredibly narrow road, and you're talking about adding more volume, right? And people now, if it's not the Topsham folk, right, then what I'm hearing from the president is that these are other folks coming to town. You fill up an ATV, you can go for 100 miles. If you got a bad, tune-up, maybe it's 80 miles. Why do you need to go to Rusty's to fill up a tank? If you own an ATV, I'm guessing you could probably afford a Yeti cooler or a Yeti thermos. Fill it up with coffee before you leave. You don't need to go to Rusty. Coffee isn't a good anyway. So here's what we have, right? What you're doing is cranking it up. So what's happened is that currently the residents have to take arms against the speeders. Now you're laying another layer on. So here's what I'm saying. I've seen a memo that exists that apparently Mr. Hagan and Mr. McLaughlin had a private meeting with the Topsham Trail Riders. I don't know if any of you guys were involved in that meeting.
All of our meetings are announced in public. There's no hack.
Okay. All right, so they had a private meeting. Residents of Tedford Road have yet to have a private meeting with Mr. McLaughlin and Mr. Hagan. So my suggestion is to table this until you absolutely have a meeting with the people of Tedford Road. Because the people who have the guts to stand up here are going to end up with trash in their lawn tomorrow. And that's what happens. So don't kid yourself. So my suggestion is table it for 2 months, 2 months, allow us to have a private meeting, bring it back on the agenda 2 months, 3 months from now. But what we haven't had is the opportunity for everyone who lives on Tedford Road to express their opinions. Just the ones that have the guts to show up here and stand up in front of this group. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. It's certainly feedback that we've heard from other municipalities that have had issue with, actually, I think it's Bonian, yeah. Worked with Ed Barrett and he themselves in some of their road access permissions, they've had to establish a curfew. So they've worked to a certain hour, if you will, like I'm not gonna quote it, but for some reason I want to say like a 7 to 7 or a 7 to what have you. And yes, it does, and we're happy to work with that and promote that and encourage that. So that is also an opportunity that we've heard from other municipalities that have had some landowners issues that they would like to appease the landowners, but also accommodate function and access to trails.
Anyone else? Nothing? We're good to close it?
No hands on line.
Oh, yeah, shoot. When I gavel down, it'll be the last chance for anybody to speak on this subject. There you go.
Walzit from 7 Big Pine Drive.
Well, sorry.
Keith Walzit.
Thank you.
I know there's some people talking about the traffic and stuff and how they think the road's too busy and stuff like that. But we're already going down the side of 196 on the trails, which is a really busy road, even at high traffic times, so like 3:30, 4 o'clock. People aren't still not riding their four-wheelers, they're still riding. So it's all about everyone working together. Everyone's supposed to pay attention. It's the cell phones, speeding, four-wheelers and stuff like that. It's not gonna be a problem. I think the access would actually be good for the town, because the town wants more business. It draws more people in, people spend money in the town, brings people to town. So say they go there, go riding. They bring the family, now they get to go to Target or wherever and spend money in the town. It's just a couple simple things, but thank you.
Anyone else?
Last question, sorry. Before I cast one off. Has there been any research to the laws as far as ATVs on public urban roads in municipalities where they're certain size, or is there a limit to the length? I tried finding some of that today, but I'm not really sure that I was able to get a clear answer from the documents I saw from the state, so.
We'll ask because that would be our expert.
Thank you.
As far as length or size of the vehicles, nothing that I'm aware of. I know that other municipalities have allowed this, and there's, as far as I know, no requirement of size and being under a certain size.
As far as distance, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, right now, state law allows 500 yards from a trailhead to another trailhead is what it's supposed to be if the town, if there aren't any ordinances changing.
So from trailhead to trailhead, and the reason we're able to do this is because you hold a public hearing, you can make your own rule.
Yeah, basically, I know Greenville's done it, Lisbon has done it, I'm not sure, and I've been told there's other communities up north, those are the only two I know of.
Thank you. Anyone? Like. So, public hearing is closed for 2298, consideration and appropriate action to grant ATV access route from the current trail system to Rusty's utilizing Shepherd Road. It's before us. I will say. I live on Forside Road. We've had Matt, your end of Forside Road. We have every road in town, let's say that. We have major speeding problems. We've been on the police department over time. We understand what their staffing is, they're dealing with it, they're working at it. And I do know the gentleman had spoke earlier about when you speak up, how it gets heated and such in your neighborhood. We were at a point where we were snapping pictures and trying to get videos of vehicles speeding up and down to try to get something done. In the trucks, it's annoying and it's frustrating. So that's already that level of anxiety within a road. So it was interesting to hear that out of the trades going up and down. I didn't even think of the Highlands and the trades working and stuff. So those are some initial thoughts to get the conversation rolling. If anyone else wants to converse.
I'll speak. First, I really support the trail riders, but I also support the neighborhood, and I understand neighborhoods that want, if it's overused or over. So I'm in a quandary what to do, because unless we have more, I'd like to speak to the police chief more in depth about his opinion on the road and the activity, and with all the workers going there, what his opinion is.
You want
I'd
it
like
now?
to-
You want it now?
We can, yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great.
sorry, Mark.
Well, I'll be honest with you, my opinion is just strictly from public safety. I understand what the neighbors are talking about. Different issue than, to be honest with you, what I just looked at. From my perspective, this is why we said that we would prefer people riding the road and not on the side of the road. And it's strictly from public safety aspect of people expect other vehicles to be in the roadway, not on the side of the road. So some communities will have people just drive on the side of the road, not at speed. Our issue is if anybody's going to be in the road, they should be in the road going at speed, which is 25 out there. It would be one of those issues that we would continue to address. Just like it would be a motor vehicle if we were out there addressing the speed issue. But from a public safety perspective, it's another vehicle on the roadway. Noise is something we address with other vehicles, or we try to as well. I'm not sure if there's necessarily a big public safety issue from the few vehicles that would probably be going up and down the road.
You have, with the housing development going out there, 38 more units and possibly 2 cars per unit. That road is pretty heavily traveled now. Do you have any concerns about more traffic, or? I'm
Not-
sorry, I'm putting.
No. I don't have good traffic counts, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
off the top of my head for Tedford Road. I know that when they were talking about the design of these new buildings or apartments that are gonna go out there, they can tell you how many trips is assumed vehicles will be making every hour. I, to be honest, don't think that there'll be a huge increase in traffic because of trail riders coming up to go get lunch, dinner, breakfast, or something like that.
Thank you.
Well,
Oh, you'll probably be back. So.
And I guess my question is. I need more information on what the impact is, and because we basically, all we have now, we have uncorroborated. Statements about what the traffic is, and this whole construction thing is news to me as well, so. And then, how long is that going to last is the question. Because you know that it's already at a level that's, let's say, making people uncomfortable. What's basically sends it over the edge, so to speak, so. I don't know if there's a way to determine that, and if there's, and what the best approach would be, but. I think it would really be good to have actual data as opposed to, basically just numbers that they thrown out without anything going.
Well, the Tedford housing development hasn't started yet. So that's just something to consider. If you want counts, that could take a while. That will be increased construction traffic with trades going into that area as well. That's the only thing I'm thinking of.
I don't have any question. Whether we're corroborating or not, speeding's a problem in every single road in this town. There isn't a question in my mind. There isn't one road speed's not an issue. And whether these speed or not, but it's just another item to add to the police department to chase down when that one is an issue. Another call that chances of finding them, getting them, it's tough. We can see a car speed by. It's awful tough for the police to write something based on what I saw, right? And this just is another level of adding to an existing problem we have in this town. And I'm with the chief, and I don't think he meant to say it, well, maybe he didn't. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of traffic out of this. I don't think that it's such a burning issue that whether we say yay or nay. But I do feel that it's just adding something else that can go wrong.
And I just want to say, I personally think the construction traffic is probably a lot more annoying than anything coming from the A to B. That's why I want to think, based on what all happened in my road.
Right.
Which is, it's very distracting.
So I have to recuse myself from this vote, as I am a member of the club, but I would throw out there that other communities have used trial bases for certain things such as this. And I think the gentleman who brought up the concern about vandalism, et cetera, Lord knows I've had some stuff like that happen around my house at the end of course as well. And not by cars, by cyclists. Good stuff. But it wasn't, I thought the recommendation, or at least I heard in that testimony that there was some willingness to move forward, provided that there was additional conversation that happened and additional feedback that was gathered. So I guess from my perspective, we talked a lot about uncorroborated data here tonight. It might be worthwhile. As the gentleman suggested, tabling it to see if we can get a little more in-depth or in detail facts about what's actually going on in Tedford. Just my thoughts. Again, I'm not voting on it tonight, so.
And that's my thought. I think we need a little bit more study again. I think the people in the trail riders are wonderful. And they're a wonderful group. It's just things have come to light and I just don't feel it's come together yet or something. I just feel it's unfinished with the information that we need. So I do think it wouldn't hurt another couple of months. The trail riders have been faithful and coming back to us and coming back to us. But I think we really need to be thorough and we need to be fair to the homeowners there. So,
Are you a table? Can I make a motion so I can bring against it? Then we'll make a motion then.
I will.
All right.
I move that we table this for a period of 2 months. During that time,
I
the
second.
interest groups will conduct additional research and come back with data as to support their position. Whichever way it is.
I second it.
I will say we just need to move on and make a decision on this. I would vote against it, but we got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor of tabling this item? All opposed? And abstention. Okay, we're on to new business. 22, one thing I will say, if you are done with this agenda item and you're gonna head out, please just, there's a lot going on tonight, quietly head out, and please, it is super loud if you stand in the breezeway talking. Make sure it's outside, then we do, so we can keep moving the meeting. 2299, consideration any appropriate action approving the submitted bid for the fire department utility truck. Chief.
Good evening, Chris McGuire, Fire Chief. After several attempts at getting a fleet service bid, Casco Ford did have a truck for us. The bid is $61,737. That truck is in stock at their dealership. They've set it aside for us, which was awful nice of them. They didn't have to do that. They did give me a trade price for the old squad of $7,000, but I think I can get quite considerably more to a rural fire department that could probably use it. So, and even the dealership said that they're not interested in the fire equipment on it, they're just interested in the chassis. So I did not do that, and we can also keep the utility truck while we get this painted, lights, sirens, all that kind of stuff. So,
What was the number in the budget for it?
well, it was combined with the brush truck skid unit.
Yeah.
That was 18,000. The total is 100. This will leave us 20-ish to do paint, lettering, lights, and then whatever incidental equipment that we need to add.
You can make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions of the chief? I'll make a motion that we accept the bid of $61,737. Where to go? Casco bid forward. There we go.
Second.
Motion then seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank
You, chief. 22-100, consideration any appropriate action on a request from Crooker Construction LLC for a zoning ordinance and map change. Mr. Manager.
Yes, last month, Crooked Construction, came in to request to be put on the agenda. Requesting rezoning of their property near the rock quarry on River Road from residential commercial to limited industrial. With existing industrial uses, in short, within the memo that I provided, it would allow them to move their asphalt batch plant, enable Crooker to consolidate operations to one location. That being said, we reached out to the town attorney, and within the memo, you pretty much have it laid out with what our ordinance requires, as well as state law. And you have a few options to proceed with. Tonight, we have Mr. Andrew Sturgeon, about the Crooker, to do a presentation for you and describe the initiative.
All right. Thank you.
Use the one it is. Yep.
Good evening.
My name is Andrew Sturgeon. I'm here this evening representing Crooked Construction. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a resident of Topsham. I'm Vice Chair of Topsham Development, Inc. I also sit on the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee, and I've been in the land use consulting business for 41 years. Here with me tonight to help answer any questions you may have is Thomas Sturgeon, President and CEO of Crooked Construction, Jim Howard, President and CEO of Priority Real Estate Group, William Ferdinand, an attorney at Eaton Peabody, and Ian Messier, Chief Engineer of Crooked Construction. Last week, Crooked Construction submitted a request to rezone land near the western border of Topsham and adjacent to their active quarry. Let me point out a few features on the map so that you can follow my narrative of the major points in our letter, and then later I'll detail the map to make sure that it's clear what we are proposing to rezone. So looking at the map up there, I just want to point out a few things. You can follow my cursor. It's right over the existing Crooker site, which is right here. This is I-295 going southwesterly to northeasterly. Following my cursor all the way up here. This dark blue area is currently zoned industrial. And the existing quarry is right under my cursor there now. Couple other features is following my cursor. This is Route 196. And got the river road that goes right through here, which dissects I call it kind of purple to the medium blue in that area. There's also the White House Crossing Road that comes out and intersects right there with Route 196. The existing Crooker Quarry site comprises of approximately 90 acres. The distance from the Crooker Quarry site to the existing Crooker operations site next to I-295 is about 2 miles in a direct line, just to give you some scale. Yes, Crooker has applied for a zone change in the past, even more than once, but never felt comfortable with the process or the direction that the process was taking us. It's always seemed to be confusing as to who was leading the zone change request. Was it the applicant, us, the town office leadership, the select board, the planning department, or the planning board? Today, we feel comfortable that the process we are proposing is the correct method for the whole community. A lot has changed in the past couple of years. We now have a new comprehensive plan, and we're in the implementation phase of that plan. We have also recently received a market analysis study completed by an independent consultant. Both the comprehensive plan and the market analysis extensively detail the need for Crooker Construction to relocate their operations and make the Crooker Quadrant a potential new gateway to the community. Those words are taken right out of the reports. Crooker Construction, for the reason I just mentioned, have felt for many years that they should relocate the existing plant and aggregate operations to the land adjacent to their existing aggregate supply, the quarry. This relocation will take several years to complete and will be very expensive, but in the long run, it should help Crooker Construction become an even more stable company and hopefully another 85 years of success in that economic partnership with the town of Topsham and its residents. Think about this. In 1972, when the existing Crooker site was developed, the only existing development surrounding the site at the time was Route 196 and a gas station across the street. I guess in my research, I didn't even realize that I-295 was constructed at that time. I was thinking back, it was way back in the 50s maybe, but it's just interesting to know. And that's probably why they put the site right next to where the 95 was going to go, because they were going to do a lot of the work there, so it was more convenient. Today, the Topsham Fair Mall, other retail development, and many homes are built adjacent to our property, limiting the town's availability to expand for commercial, retail, and housing. The time to act is now, when the support and encouragement is extensive.
As someone who's out and about in the community as a town committee member, a past chair of our local chamber, or just as a businessman or a resident, I continually hear the support and encouragement to relocate corporate construction and make the current location available for future mixed-use expansion to the town of Topsham. I suggest that anyone who is opposed, wait to hear what Crooked Construction is proposing for development. Should the rezoning request be successful, there will be at least 18 months of design and permitting with the town, state, and federal governments before we receive a permit to relocate. There will be plans showing buffers up to a quarter of them, new safer roadway intersections, sound buffers, view shed studies, and subsequent buffers built to meet stringent permitting requirements. There will even be recreational opportunities to include in the permitting process, like an Androscoggin River Trail or another trail corridor intersecting existing trails. There could also be added infrastructure for the area, to include a new water line and a natural gas line, allowing residents to hook up to these utilities that are now unavailable. The resulting development of the Crooked Quarter will bring huge changes to the community, not only added mixed-use development, but safer traffic patterns. For example, there should be an extension of the Topsham Fair Mall Road northerly through the new development directly to 201, eliminating the traffic congestion at the intersection of Route 196 and Main Street. This will also dramatically reduce the amount of traffic at the intersection of Main Street and the entrance into the high school and the middle school, making it much safer for students and residents. There are many other opportunities for the community as the Crooked Quarter is redeveloped. Ideas will be welcomed by the developer and the community. With Jim Howard's assistance and expertise, I'm sure we will have something we will all be proud of and worthwhile to the community. I'm going to jump to the map again and just talk a little bit about what we're actually proposing. So I'm using my cursor here. This area right here is an area that's currently zoned residential. It abuts our industrial site. It's land that Crooker owns, and it is approximately 80 acres. And then we're asking to have that rezoned industrial.
Andrew, you own everything within that.
Everything within that square that is called, and it's got a title of a line saying parcel will be rezoned from rural residential to industrial.
So those two properties in the upper left are yours. Are
Within that little-
are Crookers.
Within that area,
Within the white box.
within the white box.
You
I'm
have-
going to address that. in just a
Okay,
minute.
sorry.
So this section here, which is basically the dividing line we use, was the river road. So the land between the river road all the way out to 196, we're asking to be rezoned limited industrial. And that includes area that's now currently residential and area that is commercial. And the reason you've got two different shades of color is the dark shade underneath the underlying color. Without a lot of extra work, it was hard to get that much clearer than I have already. And that area in there totals about 130 acres. We also have some other land over here that abuts our industrial land that we own here. And we're asking that land, again, west of the river road, to be rezoned limited. That's about 7.5 acres. All the parcels proposed for rezoning are not owned by Crooked. But normal rezoning procedures encourage the applicant to ask for a solid rezone area and avoid spot zoning. If rezoned, the three smaller parcels, those three, two of them in the upper left-hand corner of the lower box here, and the one piece across the road in the limited, those three smaller ones, and there's a small strip of commercial between River Road and property that Crooker owns, that's owned by somebody else. All the parcels, if rezoned, the three smaller parcels and the commercial parcel along Route 196 will be grandfathered for any current development, but the owners also could use the property as it might be rezoned. for any questions and in closing. We welcome your questions, but would ask for patience from the community to hear our presentation on the merits of the zone change at an upcoming public meeting. We do not want or believe the zone change request should be a crook against the neighborhood. We're hoping that this process is the town, Crooker Construction, and the residents all working together to find a solution that makes our community a better place to live, work, recreate, and is a destination for surrounding communities to visit. Thank you, and we're available for questions. Any of us?
Andrew, the small 7.5 acre lot with the one carve out, isn't that spot zoning?
One that's out?
The 7.5 acre, the small.
Well, it's next to industrial. And I just thought that, we thought that instead of expanding that industrial, we'd layer it like I am from the road to 196. In other words, going from industrial to what limited to a road, just like we are with the area of the 80 acres down in here, we're industrial, then we're going to limited, then to a road. I'm just kind of downgrading the uses of the property and having them not be so intense. When you look at the uses in those different zones, for example, you can have gravel pits in industrial, but you can't in limited industrial. Or the pink area between River Road and Route 196 would not be a gravel pit, it would be a site for the plant, but it wouldn't be, active gravel pit. Right.
So I just want to make, so we are looking for 3. Are we counting this, are we saying 3 zone changes or 2? Because they're separated, I mean, one's for industrial, residential to industrial. One area is rural residential to limited industrial. And then the small second one is still again residential to limited. So we're looking for three zone changes, okay. So out of the 210, 120 acres total, that this is, what does Crooker own out of that amount right
They
now?
own everything, but the 3 small lots, and I got 1,000, let's say 6 acres, maybe, not even that, probably under 5 acres. And then the piece out on the road, it's a commercial, I think it's 13 acres, and I could be higher than that.
The R237, R243.
The 37 we own, 43 we don't.
Okay,
So we don't own those, and of course the power line, we have this discussions with them, but we don't own.
Yeah.
the power.
yeah, I guess I should have brought that up.
So what percentage wise? Total, I can't remember, get in my file, total number of acres. 300, I think, total.
Anyone jump in? So let me do this before we start running down a road. And I want, so give me a second here. We'll ask our questions. It is tradition, in my opinion, it is standing that this board has always taken some form of public comment during agenda items, whereas many places don't. Though I would like us to try to ask, all of us agree that we'll limit it to, I'm not gonna sit with a clock, 2 minutes, no repeat speakers, and if someone comes up and someone already made your point, just say, hey, I agree with Paul. Does that make sense to, just so everyone's got their opportunity? This isn't a public hearing, this is more of, this board has always traditionally taken comment. The public hearing, if there is one, would have a whole set of different rules. Does that make sense of the board?
Yeah.
And then, so we'll grab questions out of Andrew, and if we want to call anyone back up, we do it. And then we'll move to public, because that sounds agreeable. All right. Thank you. Matt, were you,
Yeah.
before I cut you, sorry.
No worries. I just had a quick question. I was looking, thank you for the presentation. Well, I was looking back at some of the past materials, in particular a letter on October 8th, 2020, requesting the cancellation of the planning board workshop. regarding a draft ordinance amendment. And the rationale given was that the details of the ordinance are very complex. And they wanted to take time to come up with a draft that suits the needs of the town. And just looking at this, was provided in our packet anyway. There aren't any details on an ordinance. It's essentially just asking us for permission to hold or to have the planning board hold a public hearing. So I'm just curious, like what the disconnect is.
And anybody from the team jump up if I misstate. That was a different procedure, not that we were using. We were trying to create a whole new zone. Instead of just rezone. Here, we're just rezoning to what's current zones that you already have in the community. Rezoning some existing land to a current zone. If that attempt of rezoning, we were trying or thought at that time, or were being directed at that time, that the best method might have been to create a whole new zone. And it just didn't work out.
Okay.
We're not, I think that you look in the areas are the same. The uses are gonna be the same. The only thing I didn't point out, I guess, is one of the things when you have the White House crossing road comes in at an angle to Route 196. One of the things we're gonna do, and you'll see this when we get into the permitting process, should we get there. We want to make that a right angle intersection. We're going to redo that. We work with DOT. We've already mentioned it to them. They'd love to see something happen to make that a safer intersection. That would be one of the things. River Road, we talked about even borrowing under the road so that we don't have to cross it to make it an issue with any materials that would go from the quarry to the plant. There's a lot of things, but they're all more centered on the permitting, that 18 months, I guess. Sometimes you get ahead of yourself and try to design and delineate. I mean, we've had wetland delineations and burn pools and those things, so we know where they are. But to that whole process of the permitting of the state and the federal government and the town planning board is a whole different process. We can't go there until we get a rezoning. It just doesn't make sense. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the permit. And until we get the zoning changed, it just doesn't make economic sense.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Andrew? Nothing.
But then procedurally, we should just walk, what the next steps in this would be.
Yeah. I have a read your underline.
I'll just summarize the memo that was submitted. So under the town's ordinance, amendment can be initiated in several ways, by the select board, by the planning board, and the citizen petition, which will require at least 5% of the registered voters of the town. Under any of these scenarios, once a process has been initiated, the planning board will hold a required hearing with notice containing the information in the section of our code. Proper notification will be given. Neither state law nor ordinance requires the planning board to do anything except to hold a public hearing unless otherwise directed by the select board. After the planning board public hearing, the proposed zoning amendment would then go back to the select board, which must vote on whether to place the amendment on a town meeting warrant. If the board votes to place it on an open town meeting warrant, it can, but does not need to hold a public hearing prior to the town meeting, which would be for the warrant. If, however, the board decides to place a question on a secret ballot election, they must hold a public hearing at least 10 days before the day of voting. That summarizes what I had submitted in the memo that's in the packet, emailed on the website.
So there would be at least one, if not more, public hearing in this process.
If the board chooses to move forward, it would be a required planning board public hearing. Action does not necessarily have to be taken. The select board would have to hear it either way if it's to move forward, whether it be a town meeting warrant. It would be good just to have one, in my opinion. Or before a secret ballot election, which would be the choice of the board, where you want to go with that.
As far as, like, as far as the county.
town meeting or secret ballot, right?
And all understand what the process is. Yeah. This point on. Yeah. That's great.
Andrew, hearing all that, particularly the line where if we were to do anything, planning board has to hold a public hearing. No direction, they just open a public hearing. What is Crooker's intention? You said you want the public to wait to hear information. And I think having information is vitally important for anybody before they vote to do this. But I also understand when a business or anyone goes through this, there's only so much they know. What is the intention of Crooker for giving information more than simply this? Because as I look at this process, it's a very simple, sit down, everyone give their opinion, and then you move. But if we don't know what, at the end of the day, when we, however we do this, we raise our hand or cast a ballot, the more the information always is the better, right? So what's the, you asked for everyone to wait for information. What's the plan to receive that information?
Should we have a public hearing with the planning board in February, we will present additional documentation, a lot to do with the overall move of Crooker to the industrial area. How does that benefit the community? What are we gonna gain by that? We feel that through this market analysis, the comprehensive plan is really, I know this sounds crazy, but it's pushing us out there. Because the community and these studies and these committees want to see redevelopment of that 54 acres. Where Crooker sits now, it's an eyesore, it's a valuable piece of property for the expansion of the community. So we're gonna show you what we feel town will benefit in that area, and we're gonna do that at a public hearing. We'll do that in February, and we'll probably do it if we have to do it again in May. We'll have some more material. From a site plan standpoint of where the plant might go, where the road might go, it's just, that's just so conceptual. I don't think we can, we'd be just guessing. It would be a waste. We want to know that we can have the opportunity to present those plans for the next 18 months. So there isn't going to be a lot of new information on the parcels themselves. It's just the concept of moving from where we are out to next to our existing quarry and the benefits to the community if that happens. So we can present that material, and we plan to. And if we take this step tonight and move forward, then we will obviously be hiring some professionals to help us make a stronger case, and something I can do at my level. But and we're talking with some companies to help us get to that next stage. I mean, if we go to a town vote, we obviously want to win, and so we're going to do everything we can. We can, I guess, if I could summarize over the years and the attempts that Crooker has made, the ultimate goal is to get to a vote. And the direction of how we get there is I think is pretty simple now. I mean, and we're willing to do stuff and present additional information, but again, it's not going to be to the level of traffic counts and exactly where the road goes. So that's going to take a lot of time. Again, that 18 months. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. Essentially, you get to this point, and then you really start this whole planning board process all over again. If this was to pass.
Oh,
If-
yes.
If this was to pass.
Yeah. Then
Then you start everything all over. You start.
I don't want to alarm my brother, but it's several $100,000 to get that permitting done.
Yeah.
To do that, and it's going to take a long time. And I think he realizes that anyway. We've been through the concept in our minds for a few years. So it's a commitment on Crooker's position to move that. It should work out, but it's still, if you don't take risks, you don't gain. But we know that the community is going to gain by moving that out of there. If not for just a few reasons that I said tonight, and we'll have some more. Jim Howard's got some great ideas what should happen in that area to help, I think the community will be very happy with what is proposed.
Anything else of Andrew before we? You're good, Patty? I think so. And we can call anyone back up, it doesn't matter, but. For now, you can. see.
Why don't I set my computer right there so the map just stays
Yep.
up?
Yep.
There, actually, I think I probably need to demote him so that I can see hands if they come up online.
Oh, you're demoted.
Sorry.
It's not the first time. Nor the last.
All right, so as we talked, as the board, we'll take public comment. Not gonna sit with an official clock, looking for trying to, there's a lot of people here. If everybody wants to talk, we can try to keep it around 2 minutes. Not looking for any repeat, because this isn't a public hearing. This is really honoring the tradition within the board of hearing people on agenda items. And if you agree with Bob, just say I agree with Bob and don't restate the same thing. So make sure you speak clearly, name and address, Topsham residents.
Might as well get the ball rolling. Good evening, everyone. Robin Brooks, 47 Ivanhoe Drive, Topsham. I've been a Topsham resident for almost 30 years. The home we bought at 47 Ivanhoe was our first home. I'm 65. In fact, this proposal came in on my 65th birthday. Thank you very much, Mr. Hooker and gang. And while I do respect them, they're my neighbors, they're contributing citizens, and a big business. This is about business. This is not about neighborhoods. We bought our home and our neighbors bought their homes as a place to live and raise our children. We did not choose to live abutting an industrial zone or heavy industry. Heavy industry is documented to increase health hazards. There are many babies in our neighborhood right now, having been born just this year, and a lot of young families have moved in. That's an established neighborhood. I participated in the comp plan. So I think I take a little objection to the idea that this is a done deal that the community supports. I think you need to look closely at your commitment to neighborhoods and quality of life. There's plenty of opportunity to develop residential housing, affordable housing. And if Crooked really cares about our community, maybe that's what we need to look at in these residential zones and the land that they purchased, because it is residential. Rezoning is a serious business, and it is spot zoning because this area is not an industrial zone. There's a lot of homes, a lot of families. So thank you for your consideration. I appreciate all that you do for the town, and make sure to keep citizens in mind. You've got my letter on the planning board website, town website. We've got a lot of documentation of a lot of people that are not happy about this proposal. So please keep that in mind as you move forward. Thank you so much.
Gary Bob, 20 Colville Road, Topsham. I would urge you not to pass this on to the planning board for public hearing. And that's the reason is because it's about a process issue. I think that have long-term potential consequences for the community. In the past, Topsham has considered a rezoning request and granted them for very small areas. These requests covered perhaps half an acre and were granted because the business or homeowner needed some adjustment in zoning boundaries to carry on use in which they were already engaged. But the present request is very different. The amount of land is very large. It affects many other people and adjacent landowners. The party making this rezoning request purchased this land with full knowledge of its current zoning. The last comprehensive plan update examined this area and determined that it should remain mostly residential with some rural commercial use along Route 196. The purpose of zoning is to give homeowners and businesses some confidence that the uses of their property and adjacent properties remain approximately the same. This allows property owners to invest in their homes and businesses in a reasonably secure manner, at least as far as land use is concerned. Zoning of large areas can change, of course,
But in a democratic process, this should only be done when all options for the use of the area are considered. And a comprehensive plan committee and members of the public have an opportunity to think through all the options and all of their consequences before committing to a change. In this instance, however, there is only one use, one project, and one developer under consideration. My belief is that if this rezoning request is allowed to go forward, it will set a bad precedent for the future. It would favor those who have the means to purchase large parcels of land and then have them rezoned at will, regardless of the town normal planning process and land use ordinance. Thank you.
Someone online, sure.
Okay. Let's throw them up.
Looks like it's Allison.
Allison, can you hear us?
Last name again, please.
Castillo.
Thank you.
Allison, can you hear us?
Or you have to click.
I tried to promote the panels so we can see her.
There we go. Allison, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
So we got Allison Castillo, but we need your home address.
Sure, it is 647 River Road. Thank you for being patient while I connected. I was planning on being there tonight, but I'm home with some sick kiddos. Like Robin mentioned, I do have 4 young children right in the neighborhood that abuts the proposed rezoning. I would really like to urge the board to consider that the proposal has gone through the planning board and didn't make progress because it did not have the support of the community. I'm hearing a lot about how the plan, if it goes forward, is to involve the larger Topsham town and dazzle it with ideas for how the property can be used. And while that is exciting, to think about how the current property could be used in the center of town, it does not consider the effects to where the new location will be going. And I'm not talking about natural gas lines or water lines. I'm talking about property values, health concerns, noise concerns. We are already struggling to keep up on house maintenance due to blasting and trucks on our road. So just please consider that we've gone down this road already before. It's incredibly frustrating, but I'm optimistic that we'll be able to come to a resolution that thinks about not only the positive impacts to the greater town, but also the negative impacts to the people that live in the area surrounded by this proposed zone.
Thank you. Anyone here in house? You guys are gonna have to jump and run.
You got it over.
Lawrence Brand, 577 River Road. And as you were aware from the memo that's in front of you, yes, there are 3 methods for rezoning in the town. One, of course, is the select board. If in the select board's wisdom thinks that it is a proper place to be rezoning, the select board can request that go forward, which then puts a public hearing with the planning board, but only a public hearing with the planning board. As you recall, back in 2020 and prior to that, the planning board was holding workshops with regard to the proposal for the rezoning. And actually, the select board actually gave the planning board a direction as to what could be requested by the planning board. And the select boards basically said, hey, this is your bailiwick, go for it. If you vote to have this go forward, all you're doing is saying, planning board, you will public hearing, and that's it. The planning board really doesn't have a whole lot of impetus for anything beyond that. Obviously, the other method is with the planning board, which is really where this belongs, as opposed to the select board. We also heard tonight that, hey, this is popular in the town to redo this. Well, if it's so popular, get 5% of the registered voters to sign on to a petition to have that go forward. We've also heard that, oh, this is just, people keep calling this rural land or rural residential. No, the zone that this is in is the suburban residential. So, which is a whole different zone than the rural residential, which is elsewhere on the map. As you know from prior things that are actually still on the town website, whoops, sorry. That there was a lot of input back in 2018 and 2020. This is spot zoning, no question about it, and it would have a great impact on the town. I think the select board should say no. We're not going to sign on to this. There's a better procedure for something of this magnitude. Worker Construction hired consultants, and the planning board told the consultants, as well as the planning department told the consultants, this is what we're looking for information. And that just kind of withered on the vine back in November of 2020. So again, I'd request that you say, no, we're not going to institute this, and refer anything to the planning board to go from there. Thank you. Thank you.
You've got a Chris/Andy online.
Chris/Andy.
And
Andy.
So I've sent them an invitation to be a panelist. Yeah.
Hi, Chris or Andy? Hello, Chris or Andy, can you hear us?
They have to come up.
Chris or Andy, you're on mute.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm Annie Couture. I live at 320 River Road in Topsham, obviously. And I'm going to start by first saying I agree with everybody that has stood up tonight. I also grew up here, left this area and came back after losing my parents. And I think the changes that have already occurred have already put River Road at risk related to the mall entrance, that going from Winter up River Road, you've taken an area that used to be quiet and now you've made it like a streetway, a cut through to get to Lisbon. You've also added the water districts now getting a lot more water trucks. So we already have not just Crooker coming down this road. You have large 18-wheelers. We can barely walk on our roads. There's speeding, watch it every day, high speed going up and down the road, which many communities of areas have already mentioned earlier tonight. I think this project is focused on one person. And like the other person said, looking at the glamour of what you can give Topsham where they used to be. I think we've discussed this before, and I think a lot of the people that live around me would also agree, but they're also older. So they have not come forward tonight, but I can tell you we have all talked about it. And we do believe this is should be stopped. And this reapproach every couple of years is just, at some point we need to say, no, we've made the decision. And I think it's more focused on Crooker than it is on the people around. I think they missed the point from the last several times this has come up. So that's all I have to say, but I definitely agree with everybody that spoke tonight.
Thank you. In-house.
Hi, I'm Steve DeRozier, 427 River Road. And I agree with everybody else that's been speaking up here. I moved to my piece of property the fall of 96. And that was a place I was going to hang my hat up and retire. I got a nice piece of property. The house came with a pond. I got a trout pond in there that I get licensed by the state of Maine to have fish in there, which with about the vernal pools, I have watershed that comes down through that hill that is active in the spring and in the fall. In the summer, it dries up. I rely on my springs. But I get water coming down that hill where this proposed plant should be located. I'm concerned about pollution, which with the great move of Crooker leaving the center of town, I have questions that after 75 years of heavy industrial use, is that land polluted? Could we use it for any kind of residential activity? We don't know that because I don't think there's ever been an environmental study on that problem. The other thing is, for this plant to be put where it's they're looking at, I did a Google, and at sea level right now, Crooker is at 125 feet. Where they're looking to put their plant is over 235 feet. I came down 196 today to get some diesel fuel. The winds were blowing, the dust was horrific coming up in piles of dirt. So does it make sense to us to have a company put piles of dirt another 150 feet taller in the sky by the neighborhood? So I just disagree with it. Way back when I first got to this territory, the industrial land that was already marked, that's what I think the majority of the people back then thought Crooker was going to do, was move their plant to the old Jack's Pit area. In fact, I think at one time, the town talked about giving Crooker Construction a $900,000 TIF to build a road. I don't know whatever came about, if that TIF was ever given, if that road was ever constructed, so they could go from their quarry to their Jack's Pit, which is industrial. To give one company now to have a move from land that we don't know that we could use, we might not be able to use it. It might be polluted. To rezone another big, huge chunk of land for one company for industrial, and this is heavy equipment that'll be used, that'll be trucking up along here. And I don't know about anybody, but I think paving, a lot of that occurs at night, if I'm not mistaken. So to have that plant ripping and roaring all hours of the night up to a residential neighborhood, I just think it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, go ahead. I'll just stand up then.
Steve Crow, 11 Coville Road. I agree with everyone else who has spoken. 11 Coville Road. So the affected, one of the affected neighborhoods. So my family and I moved to this neighborhood. It's quiet, family friendly. We did not expect suddenly a batch plant to show up on the periphery of our neighborhood. And to have that happen sort of retroactively, you know, makes it even worse, but it feels like Topsham's sort of getting taken advantage of in this whole situation. So I would like to oppose this project and agreeing with all the reasons that have already been put forward.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
Thank you.
I appreciate everyone saying they agree. That helped.
Hi, my name is Lori Howard. I live at 23 White House Crossing Road. I agree with my fellow citizens here that this is a bad idea. Nowhere in the comprehensive plan does it say that a big corporation come in and destroy our neighborhood. The pollution, the road, I don't see fixing that intersection at all. It's gonna make more traffic. So I believe that this should not go through. They've tried before and it's been shot down every time. Thank you.
Gene Dennis, 351 River Road in Topsham. I oppose this moving forward. I love my home. I love the location. I don't want Crooker to move their outfit closer to me. I already smell their outfit whenever they're parading asphalt, when I go shopping at the Topsham Fair Mall. I don't want that in my neighborhood. I want to get on the front of my porch, just clean smell of air. And I don't want any noise, additional sound, additional trucking. Those trucks are big. I hear them every single day. And I don't want to see this proposal being moved forward. Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Jamie Giles. I live at 32 Old Lisbon Road here in Topsham. I've been here for 19 years, a little over 19 years. I'm not in one of the affected neighborhoods you see right on that map. I'm across 196 diagonal from River Road. And I can tell you as someone who's not in the affected area that we're affected. And every day, I work from home, every single day, my house shakes and I worry what new crack I'm gonna have in my foundation because of Crooker. I don't want any more pollution. I agree with what everybody here has said. I do not welcome any more pollution or traffic into that area. That intersection of River Road and 196 is already dangerous, whether they use it or not. And then the additional smells from the plant are not welcome. I don't want any part of this, and I do feel like other people have said, this has been shot down several times. It's time to put it to rest. Thank you.
You know, there are plenty more.
I'm Sean Houston, I live at 683 River Road, been there for many, many years. We certainly are not enthused about having any, was a proper outfit moved any closer to where we are. We put up with this, when they first got a permit, it was just for 10 years. Then after that, it was 10 more, then 10 more. And we've been bounced around, and I really do mean bounced. Good many times. We never had any cracks in our foundations or on our walls or anything until all of this started. And we've had many cracks. And we still get boosted around. The last they done was a pretty good size one. And you can call Crookers and complain about it, but I don't think there's anything ever done too much about it. And that all depends on who he has for a subcontractor. Not only the blasting, but the dust. All the trucks go by. And the place is really dusty. I have a garage that I have some junk in. I have some cars in it too. And if I was to wipe those cars off tomorrow morning, by tomorrow night, they'd be all covered with dust. So we put up with this all the time. And it's about time we started having things go the other way. If Crooker wants to move, let him move it to some of his other properties. They own all kinds of property, half of Saginaw County, I guess. And they could move to any and a lot of other property without coming closer to us. And that idea of them coming closer to us is really bad. Seeing as how we know how bad it's been at a distance. Now, I agree with everybody, what everybody has said. We certainly do not want that outfit to be moving up towards Jessica. The Jessica used to be good, but it's gone downhill considerably. And like I say, all the trucks that go by, they stir up an awful lot of dust. Nobody helps me clean my cars off or anything. Then I guess maybe we should put that in there if you're gonna do this. It's an awful situation, you know, that they're gonna blast. So you wait to feel it, you don't wait to have somebody tell you about it, you wait to feel it. And we feel it, the windows shake, everything else shakes. And it's a son of the gun we put up with for so many years. I want never, I've come to this board many times to get things held down, but we have never had any luck with people. The big thing is people don't live in that area, so they don't know what's going on. And there's more people just don't care what's going on. So I care, and I like to divvy up my good fortune having a blessing done, and it'll all be done somewhere else, so somebody can have a good time with it for the next 50 years. And relieve us a little bit. It's
How many more pages you got there, John?
pardon me?
How many more pages you got?
Oh, I don't know, I got quite a few, but I'm not gonna do them.
Okay,
Yeah. I would like to,
I know you would.
yeah. I think when they went for this moving stuff around down here, they ought to have everything out to tell us what their intentions were gonna be. But after they get the zoning changed and they get it changed, which I hope they don't, what's gonna happen if they do get it changed? Well, when are they gonna start moving? When are they gonna start blasting? How close to my house is that gonna be? Too damn close. And I've lived there for 70 years. And I've been shook up quite a few times with crooked blasting. I have had to drill, this is serious, I have had to drill 5 wells. Because if I get a well done and get it going, and they blast it's heavy or something, it plugs that well right up, burns up the pumps. And that's very serious, it's cost me a lot of money to have a crooked blast. And so I hope that you people see that we do not want that moved into the Pacific area. But like I say, there's plenty of room that they own around that they could go onto and divvy up the blessing. Shake up some of the other rest of the town so people can see what it's like. Other people, they just don't care. If they're not involved, they don't care. And I wish that you would take that into consideration. And
Thank you, John. You need more?
oh, sure, I could come on.
No.
If they want me to keep going on.
It just hit 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
2 minutes. I know, I've got this way down from.
Oh, you got that down?
From 20 minutes, I've got it down to 2. Yeah. But anyway, it would be, what a relief it would be if this moved somewhere else. And I think that even before this could be passed, that we ought to know more about what would happen after it was passed. How they were gonna operate, what their hours of operation were gonna be. I think all of that should be brought into the deal. And we certainly don't want them blasting all night long. We do have them now on. But they only go stuff.
John,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call we're gonna say time so we can get to more people, okay?
Okay, you got some more you wanna talk about?
Well, they want to talk to me, I don't know.
Can I talk afterwards?
No, not on this one. We were looking for more.
Okay, that's good, but anyway, pay attention to the taxpayers. We have more than one business in town. I myself pay over $10,000 a year in taxes to the town of Topsham.
And it's not very nice getting shook up like that. And if people don't believe we're getting shook up, find out when there's gonna be a blast. And come to my house. Come to the house next door. You get yourself shook right up. I've been trying to people to do that before, but never had any luck.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
He does a good job. Jim Temple, 14 Colville Road. I was involved when the planning board took this up. I went to the meetings and stuff. And I find it interesting that we're here talking about it again, since the planning board kind of shot the whole thing down and then they just kind of went away. And I think the reason for that is they see another way of pushing this. I do agree with one thing he said, it's an eyesore. And I don't particularly want the eyesore in my neighborhood. I think we have to worry about traffic increasing, dirt and dust blowing, who knows where, the height measurement was interesting, air quality. One of the things I haven't heard talked about is that nice water filtration plant that we have, that we just built, being downhill from where they're gonna put it in. I can tell you, I've lived at Colville Road for 30-some years, and the aquifers move, whether that's because of Crooker's blasting that shakes my house or not, I don't know. But do we want to put a plant of this magnitude anywhere near where Town of Topsham and Brunswick's drinking water comes from? I think the board has a fiduciary responsibility to maintain the neighborhoods in this town. As some people have said, you know, we bought it because of where it was, the location, the type of neighborhood it is, and this is going to make a drastic change to it. And I think that it's your responsibility to not push this out to the planning board. You have a responsibility to the residents of this town to keep it resident friendly and healthy. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah. How many, just so we get an idea, so everyone's not trying to, who wants to speak, who's left? All right, so when someone starts moving, jump up.
My name is Brett Johnson. I live at 57 White House Crossing Road. I'm kind of opposite these people. I just moved here a little over a year ago. And if we knew that a asphalt company was going to be building a giant site just down the road from us, we would not have bought our house where it is. We have some family members that have asthma, and a lot of that stuff has well-known negative side effects. And I like stargazing, and so a giant, well-lit area would negatively impact that. And I would agree that if they think it's so popular, that have another petition go around, do it that way. And I hope I'm here as long as some of these people. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you.
Rebecca Brooks, 11 Turkey Run, Topsham. Just going to echo everything that I've been hearing tonight, even though I'm kind of on the other side of town. It seems to me that Crooker is a big company that's trying to convince everyone that they're a good steward of the community. In my belief, as a nature lover, if they are, the over 200 acres that they own that surrounds families could be so much better used. Walking trails, leave it as is for those that love to snowshoe, that love to cross-country ski. the report of, we're doing this for the community. We want to move where we are now because it's an eyesore and put it somewhere else. That right now, as it stands, is a beautiful area. Does not, to me, seem like it's helping the community. In addition to everything that you have already heard. You have over 200 acres that could be left alone and used with minimal impact so that the people that are on River Road and the rest of the community could enjoy. Just a bad idea. Thank you.
Mark, could you put a message to those online, see who plans on speaking so we can?
I think messaging as we go along that whole last call.
Okay.
Keith Qualls, 7 Big Pine Drive. So they're proposed, they just want you guys to rezone it or push that forward again without a plan, give anybody a plan for any of the residents, or you guys didn't have a clue what the true plan with that property is. Just once it's rezoned, then they can do different things with it. Also where they think they can go on to 196, they've talked about a roundabout or something, but has the state or anybody done a traffic study for that area? Because down where the new industrial park is, where Grimmel's is, where they put their new road in, the state actually did a study, and that's where Grimmel's ended up putting the road in a few years after the study was done. They could go to Jack's Pit, sorry, zone correctly. Half the road's already built. Grimmel's already built half the road, so they would have to make a deal with them, finish the road that way, and then they would stay off everybody's road. They'd stay up River Road, they'd stay up 196, they'd stay in the woods, and they could go to a place that's already zoned correctly that they already own. I have my son that I'm trying to raise, and it's just about money in my property. It's quite upsetting to buy the house, buy another piece of property, and buy another piece of property, then have them keep trying to push us out. If they really wanted that, they would buy all the houses in that area instead of spot zoning, and they would zone that whole area. But instead, they're trying to spot zone in between all the residents. I believe that this would be a downfall to a lot of the people in this area. The blasting is horrible. When I can be laying there, you can even have your TV on or a movie with the bass going. You still can see the glass shake, the dogs jump, and I can jump. It just scares you because you're not expecting. There's just many downfalls, I believe, on you guys being able to push this through. Especially without any information, and they want us to, as their words, they want us to wait for more information. Why do we need to wait for more information? If they really want this to go through, don't you guys need more information on what they want to do? Thank you.
Richard Qualls, 685 River Road. I live right on the intersection of River Road and 196. And every morning when I get out to my truck, I have to run my windshield wiper to get the dust off my windshield. That bad every morning. But also, you know, where I live next to my father-in-law and so on, we have 8 residences on one well, state dug well, drilled well. And it's just full of sediments, iron and everything else. Trying to keep a shower clean or a sink clean, forget it, it's red. Just full of sediments. Now, going away from that, my father-in-law dug a well right next to my garden. I use that well for my gardens to water my garden. I have to have a filter on it. He has blueberry bushes, about 30 high bush blueberries. Well, we use drip hoses. They keep it up constantly. I have a filter on it and it still plugs them up. It's just so full of sediment, silicates, just solid, full of that stuff. I use a sprinkler in my garden and that plugs up. I mean, a rotating sprinkler. That's how much there is. And it's running on that same filter. I don't know what else we can do. Every time they blast, you can feel it. Blast, I believe it was yesterday. We had our blast. And we felt it right away. It's about 12:02, which is all you just feel the house rumble. The dog jumps. And it's like, oh, I didn't know we were having a blast, but I knew right away that was a blast. And the dog jumps, and I'm feeling the house shake. I know there's a blast going on. But the blast and everything else are not great for the wells or anything else around the area. The dust is crazy. I appreciate them coming by every spring or about 3-4 times a year. They come by with their sweepers and they clean up the road with the sweepers a little bit, get some of that dust off the roads, but it's still horrendous. Thank you.
Next. Going once, I got you.
My name's John Skelly, live at 651 River Road. I've only been there for about a year. My wife and I moved there last December. Kind of echoing all the stuff with all the sediment and the wells and increased traffic. I know that it would take my dog out to go to the bathroom at 6:30 and 4 quicker trucks are already going up and down the road, but there's a plant, there's a quarry there already, but I'm also a licensed professional engineer in Maine, a civil one. For them to, I guess for them to come up with a rezoning and bringing real estate agents and lawyers and everything, it almost sounds like they probably have an idea of what they're doing. And like a sketch plan type of situation with any sort of lots they've already acquired or how they want to build it out. I guess I would just ask them if they've actually had a study that have actually realized the full potential of the already zoned industrial zone. I'm hearing a lot about Jack's Pit. I understand all the permitting issues and design issues and design links and everything, but it almost sounds like they kind of know what they want to do, but they're not really kind of sharing it. Going through the permitting process for the state, they're going to run into a bunch of opposition from the DEP. I used to work for them for 6 years in order to even probably get a site law permit. They're going to have to do all sorts of, it is costly, couple $100,000 probably hiring all these consultants, hydrogeologists, wetlands. I know that they have the wetlands delineated, but they also have all sorts of land that they've bought along River Road that they could probably use for mitigation if they wanted to impact the wetlands or any vernal pools that they've already have identified on the industrial zone. So I guess I would just say they're talking about doing this to the planning board. It should probably be a little bit more transparent of that they've already actually realized the full potential of the industrial zone that already encompasses like 3 miles along the entrance garden, where there's 2 pits and then there's a removals plant that I live across from. So and I work a lot in paving, so I know batch plants from April to November are kind of ripping pretty hard just to kind of pave everything. I know Kirker does a lot of stuff with the DOT and they do great work, but you know, not sure if it's going to be the most applicable place to have them put a batch plant right in between you know, residential areas and you know, impacting that kind of situation. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Hi, Janet Farr, 20 Coville Road. I've lived here for many years. I agree with all the different comments up here. One thing I want to mention is just the present site changes are very appealing and are going to be very appealing to a lot of people, you know, where Kirker is right now. And I think you probably could get 5% of the people in Topsham to sign the petition. But I don't believe that makes it right. Just because a lot of people would like them to go away from that place or for us to use that spot. I still don't think that makes it right to impact the neighborhood of where they want to go. So just keep that in mind, please. Thank you.
Bowie, 477 River Road. I agree with what everyone else has said tonight. And I just want to remind the committee, there is a petition on the website with 400 signatures of folks all over town from a couple years ago who were not in support of this idea. Thank you.
Going once, twice, we're done with comments. Ready? You guys want to? Yep.
Things to say.
Okay.
First,
Go.
the first comment I have is a question comment. I don't expect a reply. I went by that land in the summer and spring, and it's a beautiful piece of land. In the first place, I can't understand why it was sold to Crooker. In the second place, I can't understand why the Crooker Corporation purchased it and didn't put in the contract contingent upon getting approvals for what they want to do. So it's two ways. The land was sold and to Crooker, what was the implication they were going to do with it? Just look at it. So that's number one. My other comment is, I am for businesses, I am an entrepreneur. However, I cherish neighborhoods and the peacefulness of neighborhoods and the breathing of dust and stuff that I'm hearing tonight, I just am not for. I also feel that in a way, it's a planning board problem. It's not the Board of Selectmen's problem. So those are my comments.
Anyone else?
I got a question.
Ask away, Matt.
We've heard about Jack's Pit a couple times tonight. Do you folks have any additional details on?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Thank you for asking that question, and letting me come back up here. I just want to say, I wasn't prepared for a public hearing tonight. We would have brought a lot of our supporters in too, but we felt that this was an introduction to the next stage. The other thing I want to say is, I'm speaking for my brother and people that work for Crooker. Their intent is, I mean, when you listen to what is being said tonight, it's like we're terrible people and we have a plan and we just want to ruin part of the community. That's certainly not the case. It's very hard to sit there and hear some of the things that are being said. And I'll use Jack's Pit for an example. The resources aren't there. It's a small pit. It doesn't have the resources to use. If you built a plant there, it'd be done in just a few years. Yeah, the reason that we bought the land, we knew that there was a risk. I mean, if you don't take risks, you don't get a gain. I mean, can we put a subdivision in there down the road? If we can't get this, probably we will. How dense that subdivision is, I don't know. But you've got to look at these things and say, all we're asking is be patient. Let us present this. Let's go to a public hearing where we can put our side of the story in, and then even if it gets rezoned, it's still 18 months. This gentleman, that's an engineer, he knows that it's going to take a long time. What we're asking you tonight, we're not asking you to rezone this tonight. We're just asking you to take the next step in the process. It's not going to wake up tomorrow morning in a rezoned area and start construction. It's just. But if we could move to Jack's Pit and do it, we would have done it a long time ago, believe me. Not, I don't know, you want to say anything?
Only that.
Can you come up to the mic? Yeah. And then name.
Sturgeon, President CEO of Crooker. I guess I got just a couple questions. Absolutely. I think this is just a town decision. And put it to vote and let the town decide. I don't have to move. We can stay right where we are. Our business can stay there. People have asked us to move. This is a way we can move to make it work for everybody. Understand there's issues up there. We have tried to go to Jack's Pit. We have tried to make a deal with them. It's not possible. I think the town will understand that too, because they tried to deal. And also. So we were asked years ago how we could make this happen. This is what we proposed. Yeah, I'm not gonna push it. I don't even live here. Okay. I have worked here for 35 years. I try to be a good corporate citizen, best I can. But again, I just think it's up to the town people. It's not up to, the town as a whole. So decides is this a good idea or not. And again, it's just get to the public hearing. We will present more plans. We're not going to be detailed everything, but we do have plans. Some of you have seen a lot. They're not going to change a lot. Where the location. I do think at one of our hearings that we had, people realizing that we're going to get off River Road. It's impossible. We're not going to be trucking on River Road if we do this. We're going to build a private road all the way to 196. So that helps some of the River Road people that we truck against now. So again, that's all I'm saying is we don't have to move. We've been asked how we couldn't propose something. If the town votes for it,
we will participate and go ahead. If the town doesn't want us to, we won't, and we'll look at something else, no question, you know. That way, but yes, we have looked at many of the options. And without getting into a lot of detail, and absolutely one debates at this point. Elevations and stuff are gonna change. We will show that at a public hearing. We will show an elevation of proposed plan. Actually, in the previous planning board issues, we presented that it's not gonna change much, but it is much down. So, anyways, I guess that's, I'm not sure if I answered your question totally, but yeah, we have looked at other options, but when the plan at Jack's, the hot top in technical terms, hot top 75% stone. So, and a little bit of sand in it, and that's the sand pit up there, the rocks down here. So we would still have to truck that all up River Road to Jack's pit. It's a bad truck in, that noise and dust, whatever. We try to do the best we can here. We do have a procedure for blasting. We have to go. Yeah, that would all still happen. So. Questions?
I don't.
Thank you.
Consistently tonight, so did you have something, Matt, from them? So consistently tonight, we have heard, and it's not a public hearing, and I will always let people talk. You don't want that, I guess Brunswick's all about not giving people a chance to say anything. I've had them. For the next 11 months, I'll always give people a chance.
They just buy it, right? They just buy it.
That's right, that's right.
That's what they do.
Don't start. So consistently tonight, we have heard this has come back before us. This has come back before us from both sides. The people, you know, put an end to this. If this board tonight, is my belief, this board tonight said we're not moving forward. Things aren't done. There's still options out there. There's still ways to get things done. We're at 4.5 years, I think, in this I guess cycle of this whole thing going on. It's been hanging over residents' heads. Always, when is that going to drop? When's that shoe going to drop? It's been hanging over Crooker. We need to have a decision. I think both people deserve a decision. And one that's going to end everything. Because if we said tonight we're not moving it forward, this issue just hides in a closet again until somebody else chooses to bring it up. If we work through a process and we have a final vote and it is rejected, it is, in my opinion, that this process is completely dead and Crooker is done with this idea. There's nothing left to come forward. And the same, if people want to move forward and they want this change in their town, this idea is done. It's no longer hanging over heads. That's kind of where this has been a long time of the same, and some have spoken here tonight that this has been talked about 20 years ago or whatever it was. It needs to have a final reckoning, is in my opinion. So I'm going to put that out there for a conversation and see where we go.
I gotta tell you, some of this information that I heard tonight was pretty troubling. The water quality really bothers me. So I mean, you don't know it, well, you don't know it, really dig into it, but just hearing some of these stories is, you know, again, was problematic. But again, we've got about 5% of what we really need to know to make a good decision as to what we're saying. Again, you can approve it, and then unforeseen stuff comes up 10 years down the road, no one ever thought of. So it's, you know, you're never going to be, you know, have perfect information in the decision, but at the end of the day, I mean, you know, if it goes to town meeting, it's ultimately it's pure democracy at that point. You know, whoever wants it approved or not approved will show up in rooms to make that decision. But as you know, if this process continues, I think more information needs to come out as opposed to less. It shouldn't come out piecemeal. It should come out, you know, this is the master plan. Let's be transparent with these folks.
Just clarification.
Yeah, it's
on your point. like, I would absolutely love to put this to bed. But I'm not sure that we're able to actually say that, right? Because there are other options available to prefer to move forward, like, whatever we vote on tonight. If we say no, they can still bring it to, right, so.
Yeah, tonight isn't putting it to
Oh,
bed.
okay, got it.
The only thing that puts it to bed is if it's, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is if it's ever voted on.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, we'll never put this to bed, nor us, nor,
So,
nope.
I mean, I used to be a professional planner, until my agency was eliminated. I did it every one time. And I think I'm the only one on this board who was, actually, and I've been through some statewide planning processes, in the ocean, not on the land. But the amount of information provided by, in this case, offshore wind applicant was quite extensive. And the amount of information required by agencies to make determinations such as this was extensive. That's my personal experience. Obviously, this is a local issue. It's something different. There are different laws. There are laws that don't apply in this particular case, but it just seems to me like we may not be necessary. I mean, it's in the nicest way there. I'm not sure that we're necessarily qualified to make this call, lacking the information, or with the information we've been presented with. We'll put it that way. That makes sense. Yeah.
Good friend. No, and I think, Matt, I don't disagree in any way. But when you become an elected official, that's what we're asked to do in a lot of instances. None of us are financiers, and we work through billions of dollars of budgets and have people sometimes out of their homes. I think, and I don't disagree with you, I'm not trying to, but this is the position I think we're put in, and we choose to be a part of when we put ourselves out there in a position.
We've also got planning.
Yeah.
That's.
Yep, no, you're right. You have anything, Ruth?
No, I just find it very frustrating that we sold a piece of land and then this one
We
to
didn't sell
develop it. I know I said that once,
Okay.
but I gotta say it again. And so if all that hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, I have sympathy for the homeowners and people that residential. And I have to say, if it was my residential neighborhood, I wouldn't like it either. So.
Last thing I'll say is kind of along Roland's point. I agree with what you said. For me to make a decision, if however this votes tonight, if we move forward, you're gonna want to see information. And I would stress that to you guys that your best foot forward is showing what that location, this location, as much as you can. Permits may tell you otherwise, but this location will look like. I think that's important. Does anyone else have any comments or motion?
Just to clarify with Derek, what he's laid out, so let's say we vote to advance this to a public hearing tonight. For the plan, to tell the planning board to have a public hearing. We can then choose to have our own public hearing after that. And then we make the final call about whether or not we want to put this change on the ballot or on the warrant for town meeting. Is that correct?
So you have two options. It's gotta go to the planning board regardless.
Yeah.
If, go back to the select board. If the select board chooses to have a public hearing. It would solve putting out a warrant or a secret ballot. You don't necessarily have to have a select board hearing if it's just going on to the town warrant at town meeting. So the proposed motion, if you were to proceed forward with this, is laid out where you would set a public hearing with the planning board because it is required. And then schedule a
public hearing with the select board for a couple of reasons. One, because it would be required anyways. In both cases. Really, I would recommend if it was going to a public meeting, I'm sorry, the town meeting for the town warrant, you have it anyways, to give people more of a chance to come out and speak to it in that kind of environment. If one wasn't able to say, go to the first one. You do have another chance to go, but that would be it. So after, if you choose to do this, and it went to the select board public hearing, it would then go to a vote.
Well, in theory, at any point, if this board doesn't have to move forward with it.
No, that's
We could
correct.
have that first public hearing. Well, the planning board should have that first public hearings. And it could die on the vine there. We could not do anything with it. If it continues, if this board wants to continue moving forward after that public hearing. I would certainly believe we would have another public hearing as this board, and I would push for that, and I'll be right up front with it. I think, if it makes it through, I think we need to have a select board public hearing. And I am about putting this to the June referendum, the budget validation that we're all voting to go townwide to have it vote in that manner, which then would require a town board, select board anyway, but I think moving that forward and having the decision made is, that's how I envision. But I'm 20%.
25 tonight.
20, yeah, well, at any moment I could be 30.
So one thing that Mr. Surgeon did say in his last, or last point that he made was that you weren't expecting a public hearing tonight. And this was in essence a public hearing. So I wouldn't mind at least entertaining more information from Crooker. That would inevitably come out in a public hearing setting. We could talk about a workshop. I know there's not a big difference there, at least in the planning board perspective, but just getting everything out on the table. I think knowing a bit more about what that site plan might be, and I think DEP gentleman had a point. You've got to have some idea about what you want to do up there at this point. So it would probably be good to get that out, so that way, everyone knows what you're planning on doing, and then we could move forward from there. That's just my thought, just to give fair shake to everyone, because again, this wasn't advertised as a public hearing. This is just a discussion, but it's sort of morphed into that. So that's the limit of my willingness to bend here.
Everyone, anything else? So we have a proposed motion here and I'll read it. Town manager shall, and I think this is what I've heard from people, they want to move to get more information. This is mine, I want to move it on. Town manager shall coordinate with the planning board to schedule and set a public hearing prior to the end of February 2023 for Crooker Construction LLC's request for a zoning ordinance and map change. Following the planning board's public hearing, I'll make it part of my motion. We will schedule and set a public hearing with the select board prior to May 5th, 2023. Should we decide we want to move forward to a vote. So I'm just giving us a chance in that to let it die on the vine however, the public hearing will be such. Turning it to May. That makes sense? Yeah. Motion, do we have a second? Second back. Motion and second. All those in favor? All those opposed? 3-1. So, Mr. Manager, we will set that for the end of February.
Do I understand, we read all that, when you said, should we discuss, shouldn't we decide we follow?
So instead of schedule and set, so instead of being set, they set. Because it gives us the chance, we don't have to move forward if after that public meeting.
Set, okay.
Yes,
Great.
if if we feel it moves forward, I think. So the main is instead. So that we're the guy. If it was that. Yeah. It gives us the option whether we're gonna do it. We got one more thing. Item 22-101. Consideration any appropriate action to accept a donation of $4,000 to the general assistance donation account. We have a memo from Linda Dumont, November 11, 2022. Highbrow made a donation in the amount of $4,000 to the general assistance program. I would ask the select board to accept the donation be applied to the general assistance donated account. Any questions? How is that? Would this be the heating account or is this just? No, this is general. This is the general. Okay. Any other questions? No, I just wanted to make sure. I make a motion to accept the amount of $4,000 and place it to the general assistance donated account.
Sorry.
Motion and seconded. All in favor, thank you. Matt. Take us
Wow, is it
home.
really that time?
Yeah, take us home.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor. Unanimous.